Do real whole grains actually benefit people? Should we be consuming real whole grains in our diet in this modern day and age? And is it actually helping? Well, I've done videos all about telling y'all the science behind real whole grains and why you should be consuming them. But in this video, I'm actually going to be going further and sharing with y'all real life testimonies. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel, I teach you all about real whole grains from a biblical perspective. So I teach you how and why you should be milling your own wheat, baking the bread at home, just consuming real whole grains, whether that's even brown rice or beans or lentils or all of these other type of things, not just wheat in your home. Okay, so RFK Jr. and the whole administration has recently come out with our new food pyramid, and I did a podcast all about that, all my thoughts regarding that. But one thing that you probably noticed is kind of the smallest part of the pyramid was whole grains. And even though they state that we should be consuming whole grains, I definitely get the impression they're like, they kind of don't really see the importance of whole grains. So as a reminder, just a little recap. Whole grains have been sustaining humanity for thousands of years. It has been the staple of pretty much every civilization that has existed throughout humanity. The one exception would be like the Inuit people in the Arctic, because they're in the Arctic and nothing is growing there. So yes, I am 100% real whole grains. And what I mean by real whole grains are whole grains. So I'm talking about when you have a wheat berry and you mill the wheat yourself at home. So you're milling fresh and you have all of the bran and the germ and everything in that wheat berry, and then you use all of that flour to make bread yourself. So you have freshly milled flour, bread made from freshly milled wheat, and that is what you are consuming. But whole grains also means things like brown rice, quinoa, amaranth, millet, whole grain barley. There are so many whole grains, including the whole bean family. So that is what I mean by real whole grains. But I think many people, the biggest difference that they see is because, at least here in the United States, wheat is our dominant grain. Wheat is king as far as the grains go. And so a lot of these testimonies, pretty much all of them, are concerning more of just incorporating freshly milled flour, freshly milled wheat into their diets and their results from there. But I'm not going to just be sharing with y'all testimonies. I'm also going to be giving y'all my thoughts and theories about what's in the whole grain wheat, what is in the freshly milled flour that has actually given them these results in their health. So let's get started. All right, so this first one is a really awesome one that we're going to be starting right off the bat, and kind of as an overall generalization of how many people discover this channel, but also freshly milled flour. And this one is from Tammy, and this was a YouTube comment. And she states, about a year ago, I woke up around 1 a.m. with a severe headache. I had to sit straight up without moving too much for about an hour as I was extremely nauseous. As I was sitting there, it's like I heard in my mind this question, what are you doing to yourself? It dawned on me that I was eating way too much processed food, and I'd had it the day before. All of them were migraine triggers. I began to ask God to show me what to do, to guide me. My nauseous feeling began to subside, and so I got my laptop and began searching for healthy ways of eating. The first video that popped up was about freshly milled grains by Felicia from Grains and Grit, and I listened with amazement and discovered that my answers for eating healthy was found in the Word of God. And I quickly began praying for a grain mill, and to my surprise, in less than 6 weeks, out of the blue, the money came to buy one along with my Nutrimill Artis mixer. I am now teaching others about milling grains and the health benefits, and I can honestly say it has helped improve my overall health. Thank you for allowing God to use you to help me and others. P.S. My migraines have improved along with IBS. And I love this testimony so much because it actually covers multiple facets of this journey. First of all, I think many of y'all have ended up on this channel. I've heard this over and over again where you knew something wasn't right. You knew something was wrong. You may be having health issues, or maybe you've heard of milling your grains and just want to know how to do it. But I think many people who have health issues as Christians, many of y'all start going to the Lord. And if you are the same as me, you definitely go to YouTube for a lot of research. And like these people, and how many of y'all ended up here as well, is how the Lord just guided you either to this channel or to other channels. But I find it so amazing how the Lord has guided so many people's steps. And so if you are stuck with whatever health issue that you may have, definitely pray that the Lord will guide you to wherever you need to go to get those answers. And of course, one of those answers is the Word of God, which is the basis for this channel. Another thing I loved about this testimony is just how the freshly milled grains helped her both migraines and her IBS. And the theories that I have behind that is, first of all, you have to remember of what headaches and migraines are, and they are generally the check engine light for your health. Whenever you get a headache, the headache is not the problem. The headache is not what needs to be solved. The headache is usually your warning light coming on that something is wrong in your body. Now, it could be a ton of things, just like that check engine light, it could mean anything. So that's the biggest thing, is where in this case, I think her headache started going away because real issues underlying those headaches were being solved. And she mentioned that she had IBS, and this comes from helping with that, comes from the fiber that you get in real whole grains. The fiber that you get in real whole grains helps, it's an excellent prebiotic, but it also helps cleanse this thing out of your system. If you are constipated, you can have a lot of health issues, because if you are not eliminating on a regular basis, then a lot of toxins are being built up in your body. And a lot of toxins in the body is no bueno. Doesn't matter what they are. You need to be eliminating on a very regular basis, at least once a day, so you are getting rid of these toxins. And I do believe many health issues, this may have been what caused her migraine and other health problems, is just because you just have too many toxins in your body because they're not exiting the body. Now, they can also exit by sweating, by drinking lots of water and urinating, but also going number two, that also helps. And the fiber of real whole grains really helps that. I also love how she actually prayed for a grain mill. So she knew that this was the way to go. And so she did not have the money at the time to buy it. So you ask the Lord, and the Lord provided, which I absolutely love, and something that I encourage every single one of y'all to do. If you discover that, yes, I do need to be milling my grains, but oh my word, the grain mill is so expensive, ask. Go to the Lord to ask, because do I believe that this is essential to life? Yeah, I do. In fact, God said it too. In Deuteronomy, you are not allowed to take the millstone, else you will be taking another person's life. You could not take the millstone as a pledge. So is this life important? Is this important to your life? Yeah, it is. Okay, so that was a long one. There was a lot to cover. So let's go on to testimony number 2. And this one is from Elizabeth here on YouTube. And she states, after feeling tired all the time, went gluten-free for 13 years ago, started to feel tired again 3 to 4 months ago, thinking I was eating gluten without knowing it. So I prayed for wisdom. Within a few days, came across Sue Becker's videos. After getting confirmation watching your videos, I used my blender to make pancakes to test it. It's been 8 weeks, and I eat wheat 1 to 3 times a day. I feel so much better and have more energy and clarity of thought. Skin issues disappearing. It's been so easy to make better eating decisions. Been sharing whenever I can. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so my thoughts on this. Let's address the skin issues, because this is something that I have seen before. And do know that wheat germ is part of the oil in a wheat berry, and it contains all of the vitamin E. And it's the highest amount of vitamin E than you'll get in any other food on the planet. And that vitamin E is so crucial to your skin, to the health of your skin. Everyone knows this is why they put vitamin E in beauty products, because it helps your skin. So for those of you with skin issues, I've seen this over and over again, where I do believe a lot of that is from the vitamin E that helps heal that up. But also, it's just a real whole food, and wheat contains 40 out of 44 nutrients, and having all of those nutrients suddenly in your body is certainly going to help. As far as having more energy goes, I do believe that this is due to the complex carbohydrates that is in whole grains. So what that means is that unlike white flour, where you ingest it, you might feel full, but it's going to spike your blood sugar because it digests very fast. It goes through your body very fast. It can spike your blood sugar, so you have those ups and downs, ups and downs. I'm great, I'm low, I'm great, I'm so not great. Where complex carbs, it takes much longer for your body to break those down, and it's not going to spike your blood sugar. You're not going to have those highs and lows as far as your energy goes. So that's my theory on that. Let's go to testimony number 3. And this is from Real Rosie here on YouTube. And this person states, I would like to share some information on benefits I found for myself in giving up store-bought bread and making my own from home-ground flour. Not only has my general overall digestive health greatly improved over the past year, but pain due to arthritis in my hands has seemed to become non-existent, and cold weather drops here below 20 at times. The arthritis hasn't disappeared, just that it no longer causes me discomfort. I plan on expanding into other areas and making pitas, tortillas, and flatbread so I can do away with buying that also. I'm 72 and have had increasing pain in my knuckles for 20 years. All gone. I hope you also have experienced healthful benefits. Okay, so this is like really awesome. And this could be a huge encouragement because I think many people think arthritis is just one of those things that you're just gonna get as you age. And while yes, you're going to start having more aches and pains as you age because this body ain't going to last forever, y'all, unfortunately. But it doesn't have to be as bad. And I find that things like arthritis, those type of things are caused by inflammation. A lot of these are just inflammation. And real whole grains have anti-inflammatory nutrients. Plus, it's just a real food. And I find that when you start eating real food, the bad stuff also tends to start leaving your diet. So I believe with issues like arthritis, and I love how she said, you know, it hasn't completely gone away, but it's no longer causing her the amount of pain that it was. But she's also 72. So good job. I think you're doing really well. But I do believe, because again, whole grains, it has such anti-inflammatory nutrients, and it's just a nutrient dense food. And the more nutrients you get in your body, the more your body's going to love you. This also might be due to the lack of certain things that are in typical store-bought bread. So store-bought bread typically does contain the gluten to fiber ratio is usually off, as well as it containing just those preservatives and a whole lot of lists of things that you cannot pronounce because they're about 20 syllables long. And so sometimes I think just eliminating the bad stuff, that alone can help you out a great deal. Next, testimony. And this is from Marcia. This is an email comment that I received. Someone replied to one of my emails on my email newsletter. And she states, I've learned so much. One thing I'm grateful for is your loaf of bread. So my simple yeast bread loaf of bread. My dad is diabetic and he loves bread, but gave it up for years until I made your bread and asked him to try it and check his blood sugars. He did multiple times and checked his blood sugar, and this bread does not increase his blood sugar, and he can now eat bread again. What a blessing. And I make it for him 2 loaves at a time. All right, so this is one I see a ton. So many people ask, can I have freshly milled flour bread, bread made from freshly milled flour if I'm a diabetic? Because my doctor told me I need to stop eating bread because it spikes my blood sugar. And here are just the simple facts. Now, I'm not a doctor, this ain't medical advice, but here are the facts. Whole grains are lower on the glycemic index. Whole grains are complex carbs, as I mentioned earlier, that are just not, they're not gonna tend to spike your blood sugar like refined, highly processed carbohydrates. White flour is a refined carbohydrate, and it does not take long at all to digest. It's going to shoot through your system very fast and cause your blood sugar to spike and then go back down in this whole seesaw thing. But real whole grains, lower on the glycemic index, and it just simply doesn't do that. And I've seen this many, many times where people have stated that they have checked their blood sugars after consuming bread made with 100% freshly milled flour, and it doesn't spike their blood sugar. Now, unfortunately, you're gonna have to kind of use yourself as a guinea pig. You're just gonna have to try this yourself, but at least I can tell you that if you do search like hard red wheat, spelt, those type of grains in a whole grain form on the glycemic index, it's gonna be low, like in the 70s. They're just a low glycemic food as opposed to white flour, which is very high glycemic. So as diabetics, you probably just need to watch, you know, things like honey or sugar, those type of things. But I've just found that it's real whole grains and it's so beneficial for you, and being complex carbohydrates, not, or most likely will not really spike your blood sugars. Next testimony, and this is one that I get super excited about because it's really, really cool. And this was another YouTube comment from Mama Bird. And so here's what she has to say. I'm 75 and had bad night hives, as in wake me up at 3 a.m. covered in huge hives. Doctors couldn't pinpoint the cause after several medications tried to no avail. Doctor said to try Allegra. I did it, it worked, but doctor said probably the rest of my life. Not gonna happen. So I went on research hunt for answers, stumbled on Sue Becker bread videos, thought it was worth a shot, so on and so forth. I'm gonna be skipping through some of this. I was so desperate, I bought a mill and hard red wheat and emmer wheat and made bread. It was so tasty. Did this for 3 weeks, still taking Allegra. And at this point, she'd been on Allegra for about a year. She got brave one night and skipped the Allegra and did not wake up with hives, but thought, well, it's just Allegra built up in my system. So the next night, no Allegra, no hives. Hey, maybe this is going to work. Kept up 2 slices of bread a day and no hives. And then forgot to eat bread one day and woke up with hives coming on. So I am eating bread at 2:30 a.m. and it stopped. This has now been nearly 3 years and not an ounce of weight gain. In fact, I've now lost 12 pounds in that time, not trying. It's just slowly coming off. I'm happy with those side effects. I take no medications at all except for the eye drops for glaucoma, and that's it. I like to keep my doctor in his office. If I need him, he's there and not in my cabinet. I love that. I thank God for guiding me to this real live bread of life. And I love this so much. And this is one of those longer term testimonies. It's been 3 years for her. And she used to wake up every single night with hives. She was then on medications, and then now she's no longer on the Allegra for medication and no medications at all, which at 75 years old, y'all, I used to work in insurance that predominantly was helping senior citizens when they're going on Medicare, and everybody was at least on high blood pressure medication and cholesterol. Like, everybody. They give those out like candy, y'all. I mean, we could guarantee it. So to see a 75-year-old with no medications except just some drops for glaucoma in her eye is very, very rare these days from what I have seen. Trust me, ask anyone. And so I love this so much, the fact that she had these really bad hives, but fresh and milled flour got rid of that for her. God's foods got rid of that for her. And I think that this again goes back to the high amounts of vitamin E, but also things like fiber that allow you to eliminate properly and get toxins out of your body. Your skin is an organ. And when you start seeing things on your skin, it's kind of one of the last things that is affected. So whenever you start seeing like hives or anything like that showing up on your skin, that means things have been going on for a while inside your body and things are not good. And so I think that eating the freshly milled bread made with freshly milled flour just really help her get her gut health better, the vitamin E, the B vitamins, the fiber, all of these things. And it's amazing how God has healed her through his foods. All right, so next testimony, this is for all of y'all who stated that you have gluten sensitivities. And this is from Julie, another YouTube comment. And here's what she has to say. I was one of the people with gluten sensitivities. If I ate gluten, my joints would hurt and eczema would pop out on my hands. I have had 0 issues with my own freshly milled wheat. I can eat bread, cookies, and muffins again. Best of all, it's healthy for me. I think true celiacs shouldn't try it, but if it's only a sensitivity, give fresh flour a try. 100% agree. I have seen this one many, many times, and I have said it over again, and I'm going to shout it from the rooftops until the day that I die. Okay? Absolutely. If you are consuming white flour that is nothing but gluten, it's nothing but protein and starch in the store, and then you're consuming bread with said white flour that also has like extra preservatives and all of these things in it, it's no wonder that you are having issues with gluten. And studies have come out that it's not the gluten, but I digress. Bottom line is you're just not eating real food. You're not eating real bread. So should we be surprised that when people actually switch to real bread, which again, real bread is made from 100% freshly milled flour, and then the bread is baked with 100% freshly milled flour. Now you're consuming a real bread the way that God intended it, and shocker, your body is most likely able to handle it. Most likely, you were just having a reaction to fake food. Are we surprised? And again, this is one that I've seen so many times. People with gluten sensitivities, they then switch over to freshly milled flour, boom. No gluten sensitivities. Now, some people I've seen might need a little bit more time to heal their gut, to heal their bodies. But for most people who have been avoiding gluten, it's because you have just been consuming fake bread-like products. Eliminate the bread-like products, get on the real bread that has been sustaining humanity for thousands of years, and you might be surprised. Okay, now the big ones. The big dogs, the one that I'm asked about all the time, and I've been compiling information for years, Hashimoto's. And I need to do like an own video or podcast about this or something, but we've got a few testimonies I wanted to share with y'all for those with Hashimoto's. Before I do, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Hashimoto's is one of those issues that people have. I see conflicting testimonies. I see more testimonies where freshly milled flour has been good for them, but I still see some that say absolutely no way, I still can't have it. So full transparency about Hashimoto's, and stay tuned. I'm going to give you all some more information about this, but let's get to the testimonies that I do have. And most of these are actually I've seen on a Facebook. I've literally been compiling people's testimonies for about 2 or 3 years now. This is just something every time I see it, I save it so I can refer to it later. So let's look at one of them. I've been gluten-free for years because of my Hashimoto's. Plus, my food sensitivity test showed a gluten sensitivity. I just found out last week that Sue Becker also has Hashimoto's and explained the science behind why we can safely eat freshly milled flour items. I decided to experiment on myself, and I'm so glad I did. I can have bread again. I felt better, and I've had decent energy all day long, and I lost 2 pounds just in that time. And I was eating cookies, like a whole batch. I've decided to change my whole family over to freshly milled flour to help all of us with our various health issues. That's just one testimony. I'm gonna unpack this in a bit. I'm gonna go to another testimony that I myself personally do not understand all of the words in here, but if you have Hashimoto's or thyroid conditions, you probably will understand the terminology for these. So I'm just going to read it as is, okay? My TPO dropped 60 points in 3 months, and also my estradiol went from continually dropping into perimenopause levels with the symptoms too over the last 9 months, last lab was 68, to spiking back into the 300s and symptoms subsided. I also couldn't mill for 6 weeks and my symptoms came back and then quietly went away again once I was able to get back into it, freshly milling. And I had been gluten-free for around 9 years. This is Nicole M. on a Facebook group. So let me unpack all that we have here. Again, if you're not familiar with this, Hashimoto's is considered an autoimmune disease concerning your thyroid. And this is something that has really exploded on the scene. I have my theories about that. It is predominantly seen among women. And it can be very, very frustrating because it's very hard to get diagnosed. And if you know, you know. All right. So first of all, I do want to share with you the episodes of Sue Becker's podcast where she talks about this. And they had stated it is episode 153 and 155 of Sue Becker's podcast. So long as I'm able to find those episodes, I will link them down in the description box below so you can listen to them. And if you know, Sue Becker is the queen of freshly milled flour. We are all here because of her. It's because of a talk that she gave that converted me. That's me starting this YouTube channel. So trust me, she's been doing this for a lot longer than I have. So I will link those down below. I'm also going to be linking down below the link to this conversation where someone asked for testimonies who have Hashimoto's and freshly milled flour. I'm going to link that below. If it doesn't work, it's because you may have to join the Facebook group. So just know that. So I will link that down below so you can read what other people are saying. In the same thread, there were some people who said they still couldn't have freshly milled flour. So here are my theories about Hashimoto's. Is one of the biggest reasons that doctors tell you to get off of gluten is they state that, from what I've researched, that gluten mimics or gluten produces an autoimmune response that really jacks up your thyroid. And that was a very simplistic way of putting that. And so I can see the huge confusion. Well, is that fake white flour or real whole flour? So here are my theories of this. Bottom line. Wheat contains 40 out of 44 essential nutrients. It is an excellent source of prebiotics. It is excellent for your gut health. It's good for fiber to get toxins out of your body. And I do believe that people with Hashimoto's, with any sort of autoimmune disease, you've got a lot of healing to do. Your body is already compromised. And so for some people, they're able to switch over absolutely no problem at all. Some people have maybe had to do a sourdough and with freshly milled flour and be able to be fine with that. Some people, not at all. Others maybe have to take about a year or two to really restore their gut health before then considering things with gluten. This one's all over the place, but I can at least tell you, y'all, that there is hope. It does look like that for many people with Hashimoto's, they're able to handle real whole grains. And I think that just really boils down to the fact that it's a real food. It's a food that God gave us as food and created, and we're just eating it as close to the way as He created it as possible. So those are my theories, but I do plan on later, either in a video or a podcast episode, to really dive in to this. But I did want to go ahead and put these testimonies in here for y'all, for those of you who are struggling with Hashimoto's, and also to hopefully encourage you and give you a little bit further information to not just not try this. Unfortunately, I think you do have to use yourself as a guinea pig to actually see. And I know that that can be rough sometimes. And again, none of this is medical advice. It's just Felicia opinion from things that I've seen. Okay, so that's it, y'all. Those are just a very, 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 very few sample of the testimonies that I receive. I see this so many times, and I wanted to include the ones that kind of were the big dogs dealing with digestive issues, the Hashimoto's, diabetes, those type of things. Another thing I didn't mention is with warts. These are testimonies that Sue Becker likes to talk about, is how many people have cured their warts. That's due to the vitamin E that comes from freshly milled flour. So I hope that this encourages y'all. Bottom line is we need to be eating real food. We need to be eating the food that God created for our health. And if you want to actually hear my thoughts unpacked about this new food pyramid, the dietary guidelines, all of that stuff, you're going to want to check out my Grains and Grit Unsifted podcast up here. And as always, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.